Welcome everyone and welcome to All In, All United. We're here again. It was a long week. It feel like we ain't play since last year, boy. That's how we get so used to the midweek games, the 3 day gap between games that this week long rest was kind of a little weird. I had no feeling as though football done, But I mean, we're back. We're glad to be back. We're always glad to be watching Man United play and talking about the game and talking about different things, surrounding the club. But today we went to Ellen Road to face a Leeds team that's in the first fixture. We deal with them, But I mean, the score line, today and then the performance as well, fellas. It kind of gave me the impression as though the two managers was happy with our result. That I don't know what is all their thoughts, but I mean that's just how I felt when I saw the game. When I listened to Ollie talk after the match, it seemed as though the two teams were contented with not losing. Talk to me, Nico.
Yeah, good night. I just think that Ollie had his eyes on the Roma game, and he fought that team. He fought that team not to lose, because I think Leeds have been in a bit of form, of recent. So he fought that team not to lose while still preserving his potent weapons for the Roma game, So
True.
if it ended up a draw, but I always think that he thought that we had enough to win, but also enough not to lose. So and I think that's how it ended up working out. We just didn't lose.
That was a real pragmatic approach. If that's what you're saying is true. Hey, David, good night. Thanks for joining, buddy. Talk to me, Greg.
Well, I kind of share the same sentiments with Nico because when you look at the approach was taken, it wasn't the most dull affair because there were chances. I mean, you could watch it a lot of the way the game was playing out. We dominated most of the possession. We looked like we were going forward. We got the most shots off. It's just that you saw Bielsa kind of taking a page out of most of the other teams around. They decided to kind of play a bit more defensive. You saw more of a lower block setup in the way that they approached us. And then on top of that, they were targeting McTominay because, I mean, they forget he was the man who terrorized them first 2 goals. He come on bust their back. So they said, none of that's again. You saw Aylin and Dallas and all these other fellas going directly for him and trying to just disrupt the tempo that was going. So when you couldn't get him to really string the passes that he wanted to get, the rest of the team was kind of like at a kind of a stop-start. It was more of a long ball approach, and Rashford still looking a bit off the pace somewhat to say he was sharp enough to try and pull away a goal. Bruno was frustrated. I could see it in his face at times, even with some of the situations where he didn't get decisions going his way. I even started watching the referee kind of sarcastic. Like, seriously, like when I go and get a call here then. So it was tough to take, but I think all in all, the result in itself didn't really say how the game really went, didn't really tell this whole story. But like Nico says, Roma and the side of his eye Thursday, save your big guns for that, save all your strength for that.
All right. That's fair, but I mean, in my interpretation, I thought it was a little bit, and I understand, we're probably in Ollie's mind. I don't know if this is the right way for a Manchester United manager to think, right? But I don't know if Ollie already kind of conceded the title. He's saying, well, hey, that 8 points. City are dropping that amount of points. So you know what? Let me just see how the league, make sure we ain't drop no we are lost nothing, but let me focus everything on the Europa League. I don't know if that's the way he think. I mean, if that's the way he think, I don't know if I fully agree with it, because it's not like there was a need to rest players. There was no any need to rotate, because we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks 3 days between and certain players getting run to the ground, and you're not concerned about the next game upcoming, right? And I could go back to the game when the second leg against Real Sociedad. That game done wrap up, and he still play Marcus Rashford, injured Marcus Rashford at that. So going into this game after a week-long rest, where we could be putting some kind of pressure on City. I ain't going out and saying, well, City go drop points and we go win the league. I ain't saying that. But to at least keep it tight, I thought we could have gone for it a little bit more. And saying that, let me talk about the team sheets, fellas.
But before we go into the team sheet rooms, I think we had enough chances if we were clinical to win the game. But going back to the team sheet, I was surprised not seeing Cavani and Pogba, to be honest. I know he talked about the Daniel James effect. Well, I saw that defect today. It was like effect, but it was a defect today.
Oh gosh, boy.
Daniel James just didn't work today. I think if we definitely had somebody a bit more potent, in the positions James found himself in, I think we could have nicked this one. So yes, we know that James had a good game against Leeds in the first tie or the first round when we played them, but we didn't get replicated this time. So outside of that, I was surprised again with the Pogba and not seeing Cavani. But outside of that, I think yes, we playing away from home. He gonna go with the double pivot with McTominay and Fred, right? He wasn't going to go out to say, well, here what? Let me play Pogba in this role. Let me play Pogba and Fred, and leave us exposed, especially knowing Leeds on the counter. So I know he definitely wasn't going to do that. So it's either he didn't play James and play Rashford on the right and play Pogba on the left, if he had to do that, and still keep his two defensive midfielders. So outside of that, I think that was the lineup.
Talk to my Greg about the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wasn't surprised by the lineup either, because let's face it, he trusts that whole McTominay Fred pivot. He really trusts that. That's kind of like his go-to when it says he knows he wants to get something more safe. He said, all right, I'm gonna have them two fellas in. I'm gonna play Bruno higher up, let the other front three do what they had to do. And it's like I said, it was one of those games where he kind of had his eye on everything. Like I keep telling people, Bielsa saw what went on the last time. I mean, you want to face the side that hit you 6 when you face them the first half of the season and want to decide, all right, we're going to go out guns blazing again. You want to stick to your guns and say, all right, sometimes it's a matter of damage limitation. It's the same approach we kind of took with Tottenham. Although we weren't as reserved and fell back on it, we had more of a better counter for that game. But in this situation, we saw the roles reverse. It was almost like a similar situation with Burnley. Even though we were able to break Burnley down, Bielsa's a kind of person, he makes his team set up to run. If it's one thing, they have a high press and a high energy. They kept that, but they kept it more from a defensive nature. Their job was mainly to kind of frustrate our attack more than anything else and try to do the same thing that Oli likes to do to teams. Take them on the attack and then bust them.
Yeah. I'm gonna just pick up some people on the inside here. David, good night, buddy. And we have Kerry White, Man U.
Yeah, we have Chelsea men in the mix play. We're really going on here. You need to be worried about Tuesday or Wednesday and them deal with them. Imagine Hazard come and score in Stamford Bridge and knock them out. That'll be real pain,
Hazard fit? Hazard finally fit?
Yeah.
Last time I checked, I think he fits. He was training.
Yeah, he fit. Hey, Dream Chaser, welcome, man. Thanks for joining. Saying honestly, United played well. Unfortunately, we didn't score, but must give credit to Leeds. Them defended well. But one thing, Oli needs to start making early changes. Yeah, I think the changes were very, very late.
And that's the next reason why I thought that he thinking about Roma. If we went behind, definitely he'd have bring on the changes earlier. But because we still went in the game more or less, I think he said, well, here what? Let me hold on to my most prized possessions, get them on last 10, and if it don't work out, it don't work out. As Reem say, if that is the mentality of a United manager, maybe not, but I think the prize for Oli right now is getting that title under his name or that trophy under his name. I think that is what he's really going for at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Jody, welcome, buddy. He's saying, "Oh, fellas, blessed night. The Juju airwalk.
Yeah,
That's
boy.
fighting me down." He's saying,
You
"Plus how
can't
you
get
go
it
put."
right all the time, boy, Jody. You
Yeah.
can't get it right all the time, boy.
He's saying, "Plus how you go put out the same side that hit lead 6." So here my take on it, fellas. Here was my take on it. Kerry saying, "Well, once we play in Tuesday, Wednesday football." Was
Uh-huh.
good. Was a good game. James and Bruno throw away. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
just
good
like
to
Fernandez be doing half the time.
have.
Yeah, one fluke goal against West Ham, and all of a sudden he feels he's Ronaldo. Me telling me himself now. Right now, them what fourth?
The fourth,
Anyhow,
Yeah, the fourth,
the
fourth,
fourth.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. But
anyhow, let me not study insignificant teams right now. Now let me study the
yeah.
teams that we ready to come to talk about.
But we do appreciate, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
the rival fans still coming in and supporting the channel, you know.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. All
Yeah,
banter aside.
you know. Hey, PC, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah,
All right,
man.
he enjoying the program, man. And these guys commenting from the YouTube platform. So thanks for utilizing that avenue.
Yeah.
So, but guys, my thought was this, and I think Gregory, you had touched on it as well. Obviously, Bielsa, even though we know Bielsa have one way of playing, and that's how we go play, and that's how we go approach games. We saw today that Bielsa kind of learned his lesson. They didn't high press us, and they were very, very conservative in the way we played. And I think Ollie played the team, you know, to match industry, to match work rate. And to be honest with you, while I hear what he's saying, I didn't too fully agree with it because at the end of the day, remember we without taking for granted the threats that Leeds have, we had to have confidence in our ability to attack teams and put teams on the back foot, as opposed to trying to play tete-a-tete with them, if you understand what I'm saying. And them too, even when you realize that Leeds didn't really come out to play the kind of way we know they play, why it takes so long to make the changes to at least try to impact the game to get the win, right? I thought we went into the game playing a little too safe for me. I mean, in terms of breaking down play, maintaining some form of possession, all right, we were okay. We got three little chances, but the players, as I think Nico, as you mentioned it, the chances that the player that the chances fell to wasn't the player that we wanted the chances to fall to, and the only reason it fall to them is because them was on the field. I don't know if you noticed the little 10 minutes Pogba gave when Pogba came on, you saw a difference. You know what I'm saying? When Cavani came on, and Cavani played 5 minutes, you saw a difference. You know what I'm saying? So I get the fact that you want to match Leeds. I get the fact that you want to maintain, you know, you want to probably save players for the more important games. But you're always saying press conferences, the next game is the most important game, right? So yes, but no at the same time. So I was disappointed not to see Pogba start. I was disappointed not to see Cavani start. But apart from that, everybody else who started was expected.
But Reeves, also we had to trust the players too. You know, we have a squad. We had to use this squad. I just say that inside here, right? I just say that inside here. Yeah, because we talk that here. We have a squad. We had to trust this squad. You know, but it didn't work today. It didn't work today.
Can I just say this though? I think it's a situation where, like, there's a part of it that's position consolidation on the part of Ole too, because you look at it, all right, there's another point, basically making sure second place wrapped, but knowing that, okay, they're still looking at a situation where they still can get some silverware. So that's where, as a manager, you kind of have to find a way to strike the balance. You tell yourself, do you go full strength to make sure that you tell yourself you still have an inkling of a chance to catch up with City and win the league? Now, I'm saying England, but that's a strong term because we know, okay, 8 points, that's still doable.
Yeah.
But at the same juncture, the onus is on you to be able to catch up, and you expecting City to fall. Like you said, that's not the most likely of scenarios. Whereas you have the Europa League match where both teams starting on a blank slate. It's up to you to make sure, and you consolidate your position and make sure you get to our finals. It's a hard balance to strike, but if you were in all this situation what were you? Which direction you would point at to begin with? Which one do you think would be the more feasible idea for you to go with?
No, well, I mean, I don't think when I look at the table, I don't think second place solidified yet. And then I looking at the fixtures, we still have Liverpool to play. You know, we still have some tricky ties, and Leicester City not far behind us. So I would want to make sure, you know, even though, as we say, City dropping 6 points mightn't be as likely as we would like, as Jody would always say, but I still think we had to safeguard ourselves. So while people might see it as well, we giving up, we can't win the title, so don't bother about that. I still looking over my shoulder because I don't think that second place solidified yet. And if we want to talk about improving from last season, then we can't get settled for making top four. So for me, our improvement on last season is second place. Yes, if not first, but that gap had to be as small as possible. So I don't want to throw it out and say, well, it's 8 points, it's 10 points, will be good. I don't agree with that. So my thing is you have players who grafting because we've seen you run players to the ground. And if you're talking about rotation and resting, why Marcus Rashford play? Because he kind of injury. You understand what I'm saying? So let me be consistent. If we're gonna say you're looking at Thursday, you know, let me be consistent, because if you're looking at Thursday, then the player should not be on the field was Rashford.
But why not Rashford? But why not Rashford? Because to make a decision to play Rashford, right? You had to have some kind of history, some kind of data to tell you that here what Rashford could play today.
No, but
so you wouldn't just throw Rashford on the field and say, well, Rashford play, right? Because it could be that they feed in the media something that is maybe not really true. Because
when you say they're feeding something that's not true, what do you mean is not true?
No, because if you look at it, right, that Rashford injured or Rashford nursing injury, maybe it is not as bad as it is being purported to be.
But
because he can't be as injured as he is, and he's starting every single game.
No, Nico, before you go any further, there are some players that has been carrying some nasty injuries and they still declare themselves fit. Because I've seen games. I remember years ago when Rudy didn't too long reach and start to play first. He get injured during the Newcastle game. Mm-hmm. Next minute, I see the man score screaming in the top corner. So that's something that's play through their pain. Sometimes it's a mental block. That just had to just kind of overcome.
Yeah, but and I was saying, so would you stop a player like that though? Because if he is performing, because to me he is performing at a decent level, and he also provides a balance to the team.
It's another judgment call that I think Oli just kind of had a way out, because at the end of the day,
Martial.
I remember Martial also injured as well too. He out for this season, so he don't already have too many options to play on that left side. He could not play Diallo because Diallo was just playing for the under-23s the other day. So your choice is kind of limited to a point. So it's like you almost have no choice but to play Rashford to that extent.
I think you have a choice, but I think the medical department also has a say into Rashford, because even if you look at the length of time Rashford has been on the pitch, Rashford don't leave the pitch before 75 minutes. You know. But
before I come in on this, let me just get some comments, right, and then I will respond to that, right?
Right.
Jody saying, but I understand that only looking forward to the big games ahead. Hey, Kevin Akeem, welcome, buddy. He's saying Ollie lost me with the late subs. Why? David Van der Beek could do what Van der Beek could do in such little time, if anything, was insulting to the player. Yeah. Adam, thanks for joining, buddy. Go ahead, Greg.
I just keep saying this whole thing with Donny Van der Beek. I mean, I believe that you're saying that you have a player there that not everybody trusts at this point in time because they're not accustomed to play with him. The only way you can truly build trust with a player is if you allow him to get the game time to build a connection and to build that sort of rhythm with these players. Donny is one of those players, if you give him the right position, the right roles, he will fit. This is the kind of player we've seen what he's done within times where you thought the game was done. He basically drifting players apart, open up space for his teammates. You give him more time to do stuff like that. The whole idea of the game changes for us. So I don't know. That's one thing that's always have an issue with Oli on.
But and there's the next thing, because that's an interesting point Gregory bring up, because if you're looking ahead, then Donny is one of the players that's supposed to be getting a little more minutes now, boy. I mean, we know that he hasn't set the world alight at Man United, but we also noticed Nico, in the recent weeks when he gave chance, we're starting to see a little more of him settling and adjusting. So why 3 minutes? Why 3 minutes? So when you look at it, it's not making sense now, boy. Let me just get some more comments, right? Hey, Simeon, welcome, man. He's saying Henderson and that cap bothering my eyes.
Why? I find that look cool, why?
Hey, it's to protect the man eyes. The sun and the man eyes, what you him do?
But decent game today. Could have been sharper, but with James up front, you have to be realistic. Yeah. Jody saying pressure as boss pipe. He's supposed to be putting pressure on City. And that's why he's saying it. Kerry saying it's true. Legal known for playing. There's an inside joke.
Yes.
Right. What I gonna do? But my thing on it, Nico, because we saw you talk about the coaching staff and the medical team and whatever. We saw last season where Rashford was past fit to play, and he last 5 minutes, and then he was out for the rest of the season. Thank God for COVID. Well, in that sense, right? That he was able to recover and come back for the post-COVID little running. So I don't have too much faith in that medical staff when they pass a player fit, right? Because it happened, and even with Pogba, they passed Pogba fit to play. Pogba play a game against Arsenal, then damaged the ankle and was out for a couple months. So when you tell me that Rashford playing because the medical staff say then I history already support that is probably the best decision. Now, everybody talking about this injury, even when he went on England international duty, he couldn't play with the national team. He had to come back. So the injury is not no teeth-head, right? It's a fact that the player injured. The severity, I hear what you're saying. But then when we look at when Marcus Rashford playing, you just see it affecting how he playing.
You find so?
Yes. Let me be honest.
No, for real. The man doesn't look as sharp as he is sometimes. He's had some chances. He just throw them wide, and that's not normally common to him.
Right? Not normal.
No, but Nico, hear him out. Because at the end of the day, when I look at how Rashford playing, Rashford on the ball in attacking positions, it have times he looks sharp, and it have times he look poor. Right? When you're looking sharp, I can accept that. All right. But when you're looking poor, don't make if you're playing him, then don't make no excuses when he playing rubbish and tell me he injured.
But I normal. So then Rashford get a good game and he get a poor game. But that's
my point. So it's like when he have a poor game, people saying, well, because he injured. Right. And my thing is, hey, if the player injured, then you don't need to risk him because it have bigger games coming. Right? So all I'm saying is, I'm saying all that to say this. If it is you saying that, hey, here we want to look forward and probably we could approach this Leeds game differently, then Rashford doesn't need to play.
So to me, that had to be to me that he is not as injured as we think.
It's not
because it can't be that we so bright. It can't be that we so bright to know that if Rashford not fit, not to play, and the coaching staff don't know that.
But I just explained to you that sometimes them just get it wrong. They do to Rashford last.
It can't be so wrong, boy. It can't be so wrong, boy.
Stranger things have happened. That's all I can say. Stranger things have happened.
It can't be so wrong, boy. That Manchester United.
I telling you, always say
top medical staff, from everybody come down, and we can make a decision and they can't make it. Nah, man. I trust them to that amount.
All right, fair enough. Jody saying, but if Marcel was there, he was sure busting up that net. But it is what it is.
I'm not sure. Has he seen Marcel this season?
I'm not sure about that.
Jody,
no offense, but has he seen Marcel this season?
Jody, we don't do this tonight now. Let me
Jody laughing at the end.
Not tonight.
You chicken and snacks.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Jody, and if
I'm Harry Potter, you joking, you know?
and here, Jody, if we protect we boy, don't come to the sword like that now. You do me that last week.
Oh God.
Dream Chaser saying, I would hope Oli give Diallo a chance against Roma. When he came from that league, he already scored nice goals against his team. I doubt very much.
It's possible he might want a goal and show him on.
Here now. Here what I'm telling you. Semi-finals and only one trophy.
Stranger things have happened, my Rainbow. Stranger things have happened.
I wouldn't doubt it. If he not desperate to come, there are five substitutes in Europe.
Exactly.
But
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. So fair shout, Dream Chaser. PC saying our last 3 games have been against top 3 of the supposedly top 6, and we've walked away with 5 points. I'm happy with that. So you cool with the 1 point today. That's fair, man. That's fair. Jody saying if it was up to me, Rashford was on that bench. I'm telling you, I feel so. You know, and it's not because I just think we had to manage Rashford a little better. Right? But Nico seemed to think that the injury is not all that.
It can't be all that. Fred is nothing. He call him good night.
We're going back with this thing again, boy.
But Fred wasn't bad today, no? I like how Fred.
I said.
Like the energy Fred pin today, boy. Fred worked today, boy. Fred real work.
I mean, one Fred taking yellow.
Callum saying Daniel James can't make Civic.
Nah, Daniel James had some nice chances today. He had a little more quality.
No.
So guys, keep the comments coming. We appreciate that, but don't forget to like the video as well and share it as well, right? So we could get more people, tuning into the content that we have here. So we establish, the team sheets and stuff like that. But let me get some thoughts on the game now, moments, that we want to point out, things that we rule, Go ahead, Nico.
I think we started the game real bright for the first few minutes. Well, hey, I think we started the game real bright, but then it was a bit tactical, especially in the first half. We were lethargic. We didn't have the energy because I said how Leeds came out. I don't think we expected Leeds to play that way. I think we expected Leeds to come at us, but they didn't do that. They sat back in blocks of 4, and they weren't attacking us as we expected. So I think that would have definitely caught the team by surprise. I think maybe some of the preparation now would have had to change on the field, or as the game go by. And I think in terms of identifying now where the chances would come or how we would play, it took a while for the team to really identify how we going to beat this Leeds team, or how we going to contain them, right? Without they hitting us on the counter, because we know they're strong on the counter. So I think it was a bit of a cat and mouse in the first half, and you saw that with the limited amount of chances. Who had chances in the first half? Greenwood maybe had a chance.
With a free kick.
Yeah, Rashford with the free kick. I think outside of that, there were limited chances and nothing to really talk about in the first half. I think in the second half, definitely we are going to the dressing room at this half time, talked about it, and that is why we came out playing much better in the second half. But the first half, Leeds would have caught us by surprise with how they lined up to play against us.
All right, nice. Now, before I come to you, Greg, let me just get some comments, right? David saying, I like to see Bissaka coming forward. I think Bissaka is improving, He improving.
Look good today. He looked like he was up to the fight today. Front and back. Yeah. I think he was my man of the match.
Yeah. And I think he was the Man United man of the match as well.
Well deserving.
Yeah. Sean Glowden, thanks for joining. Nicola, your family? Or?
Sean, I don't know why. Sean, if it's family jet, we had a link up after. I don't know what Glowden that way,
He said Bruno needs a rest unpopular opinion.
Not really. Not really. I agree with that.
Well, I think
I feel Bruno sometimes he just get running. But even he just wanna make sure he play in every game. He's like kind of person. He competitive like that. You see that?
Yeah, I think Oli does want him to play because sometimes he does need that kind of personality on the field to gain somebody's fella's skull now. You know, like a Daniel James skull, you know, a McTominay skull, play the ball, you know. I don't want to put the adjectives in the middle, but play the ball. Sometimes you just have to have players like Bruno on the field. I think Oli recognizes that, you know. By taking away Bruno, you're taking away some of the
mentality.
The mentality and the toughness of the team now. You know, so definitely it's had to. I think that is why most of the time, even if Bruno is out of form, you know, you still want that type of quality on the field now, or that type of environment on the field.
But you think, Nico, because I mean, it's a very, very good point Sean make, because sometimes when things not working for Bruno, even though, and I agree fully with you, you know, you want that kind of mentality, or that kind of player on the field. But most times when Bruno frustrated, he just tend to get on players as well, you know, and sometimes his attitude could get him in trouble as well, how he just remonstrate. And it could do sometimes it could have a negative impact on the team now. But I guess it's more positive than negative coming from Bruno. Yeah. Jody saying, I never see a man get loud up like how Bruno loud up James. Yes, in about 3 different occasions.
It's true.
Yeah. He went in on James, boy.
Yeah.
Callum saying, on a serious note, Oli was simply out-coached today. No shame in it. No one expected Leeds to use these tactics. Correct. Fully agree.
But I don't think he was out-coached though. I don't think he was out-coached. I just think it was the quality on the field or the moments on the field when the ball would have fell to the whoever player at that moment, you know, wasn't the right player at the moment. You know, I think if as Reem said, maybe with a full strength team, then we'd have beat Leeds hands down.
But I think when he to clarify the term, he said no one expected Leeds to use these tactics. So I think it's a kind of outsmart.
Okay, you know? Okay. If it's but even if to me, Bielsa went with those tactics, and let me say we played our strongest team, I think we'd have win. We'd overcome it with that extra quality.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. You know. But I think even if Leeds had come at us, you know, gung ho like how they did in the first fixture, I still think with the quality on the field, we would have been able to deal with it. You know. Jody saying, well, Nicole Leeds was prepared for starting 11. It's like they know Oli was coming with that side that hit them 6. Plus kudos to Calvin. Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips do a job on Bruno, boy. That's why. And this is a good point. Jody bringing here, because we talk about when Bruno is the only outlet and he get locked down, we don't get nothing, and that's why it was important to have like a Pogba there. And so Calvin Phillips would have had more work to do. He would have had to be switching between two of them and Pogba. We saw when Pogba came on.
And we'd have killed them off. That's why that alone.
Yeah. So hey Jesus, welcome buddy. Saying glory, Man United for life. PCPC saying they put on Cavani way too late. Cavani get 5 minutes and Van Dijk get 3 minutes. You know. Sean saying I agree with Nico. We threw away our chances, but it wasn't that bad a game.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think in the second half we really pick it up. We really pick up in terms of the passing equality. We pin Leeds back. They didn't have an outlet. They didn't have a chance. Second half was really good. It was really good.
Yeah. Gregory, talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, along the same line, because you saw that same mindset. We started off better. We didn't do anything silly. No kind of stupid goal was looking to be conceded because men throw away the ball and do stupidness. There were a couple of times, you know, I just felt like there was that finishing, that passing in the final third was lacking severely. This is one of those games where, like we were saying, They did their homework this time. They learned from their mistakes. Like Nico was saying, Calvin Phillips especially was making sure that he didn't allow Bruno Fernandes to have the room that he normally is accustomed to having. So it was a situation where they did a damage limitation. They said they didn't want history to repeat itself, and knowing that in mind, Leeds just were looking at it. They probably didn't think they were going to win anyway. So they tell us, all right, that point is a hell of a result for them. And we looked at it. We went into this game. You saw that there were opportunities to come in at them, and especially in the second half, you saw there was more pressure being put on. As Cavani came on, you saw the game raise. As Pogba came on, you saw the game raise. It was just difficult to see. All right, we not getting anything out of it. I honestly told somebody, I said I was getting a kind of Crystal Palace vibes off of this whole game because it was that level of frustration where you saw them wanting to do things, but the execution was just lacking. And I tell myself, Leeds is a better side than Crystal Palace, in my honest opinion. So when you look at how things played off, it's a clean sheet for Dean Henderson, but it's just tough to know that we didn't get 3 points out of this. But we can't fight it. It wasn't a bad game all around.
But you see the risk in playing like this when you're no, I'm not saying that we were going to play for 0-0, because I mean before the game, Ollie said that this game not going to be a 0-0 and well.
Oh God.
Right? but you see, my thing about playing safe like this is because we know that the team have a mistake in it. We could find ourselves having to come from behind, and there was a situation that happened in the first half where I've seen it given before. We get lucky earlier, even though it was the right call. I think we get away because the short handball,
the penalty call on Shaw.
Yeah, because I see that get called for penalty already earlier, and that now would have put us in a position where we know how to come from behind, right? So my thing is, yes, we would have managed the game properly. I don't think Leeds really. When I say had us on the back foot in any way, but these kind of things happen. One chance happen, a foul, a set piece, a penalty, and then we find ourselves having to come from behind. So let's go for it and let's take it to the team as opposed to trying to nullify their threat. And I mean, as everybody's saying, nobody expected Leeds to come and play the way that they did. They learned the lesson.
Right.
But I still believe, had we gone into the game, forget Roma, forget Liverpool week after, right? We're looking at this football match here. We want to still maintain some kind of pressure on City. Leicester City not that far behind us. So we want to play to win. And we had gone out with Pogba. We play Cavani. Whether or not Leeds had come on high press us and play with that kind of, I still think we would have got a result today, a better result than a 0-0. But I mean, hindsight is always golden, eh? Yeah. Let me just get some comments here before we move on. Jesus saying that Mangalov by McFred won't continue. We can't continue with that. With Yeah, I fully agree. Our attack is nothing without our 4. With that 4, sorry. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
So going back to that. So what are you saying? We can't play with Maguire and Lindelof?
No, we're saying Magulov and McFred.
Right, so you had to get a replacement.
So basically, those two partnerships they're not supposed to be working together. They don't work for him, apparently.
Right, so you had to get a replacement for Lindelof because they're gonna replace Maguire. Right, so that means you're strengthening your centre back pairing, so you can play with one defensive midfielder. All right.
Yeah. Because remember, we want to see more Pogba high up the pitch, but not. Even though Pogba does give you some nice width and give us something nice coming out wide, he's still a bit limited with the pace and being able to stretch the defense now.
And then too, I remember the ball from Lindelof today to Rashford in the first half. Excellent again.
So this is why I wonder why Jesus saying that, because you see the kind of quality balls Lindelof does give man. Man, how much 4 assists this season because of that? Yeah. I find that real harsh though.
And that's why I was saying maybe Lindelof could play in a defensive midfield role. I still think that's a specialist role.
I agree with you, Nico. He did that for the correctly.
He did do that for Benfica back in the day if I remember correctly.
Okay.
All right. Dream Chaser saying, we as United, our bench supposed to beat up a side like Leeds. Why we always had to depend on certain players right through.
That's a good point.
No, but if I could respond to this, right? You see that thing about we bench supposed to football really evolve all year. Team don't just get beat up like that just so again. You had to put your best team out if you want a result. Yes, I'm saying that we shouldn't be dependent on 2 or 3 players, but at the end of the day, if you don't show up, you'll get your skin cut. Whether it's your star players, whether it's So I think football change a lot. It do have that kind of how to put it, boy. Where you don't beat the team in the tunnel already now.
Right.
I don't think it's had that again.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. Hey Jamal, thanks for joining. He's saying none of the teams know how to defend against Van de Beek because they never played against him. Should have started as a surprise. I don't know what else think about that.
I think the only reason he's not starting is because he just not doing enough in training. Because
the reason
I think if he did enough in training, he'll get his chance.
Nico, I disagree with that. Especially as it would relate to this game, because Ollie wanted to go with a industry team today. So Van de Beek would never get picked today. If Ollie had approached the game different, then probably Van de Beek might have seen some minutes. Jody's saying, then slobber head Harry. Why is our problem with attacking set pieces earlier? What is the problem with attacking set pieces? Why? What?
Yeah.
We have no kind of attacking set piece threat. Nothing. We don't win nothing earlier.
Defensively too, eh?
Gone are the days of Vidic and Ferdinand, dog. I keep telling you that.
It's not like he's attacking all the defensive too, eh?
Yeah.
No, but Nico, I hear that, eh? But we still win some ball in the defensive sense, But in the attacking, we don't do nothing set players by nothing by.
That's called flight or fright, boy. Have I heard about that? Flight or fright? Yeah.
So I mean, for all defenders try to defend him, the man like he need a compass sometimes to find a goal with that big area there, and then he has Lindelof who cannot head a ball to save his life.
I don't know why he does go up. I don't know why Lindelof does go up anyway. Just stay back.
Is it?
That come like Fred lining up for a free kick. Right? Fred, just move. Right?
For the record, Fred has scored free kicks in his career. Just not
Lindelof going up for a corner. Just stay in the back. Right?
No, but in fairness to Lindelof, right? If you go back to the first fixture against Leeds, the man scored for a corner, that the one where I think it
wasn't a header though.
But I mean, we're talking about him being in the box now, and he responded. His reaction was right. His run was right, and he scored. So, I mean, to say don't be in the box or not, I don't know, but I just find we going for in attacking set pieces, we have nothing whatsoever, nothing ever coming out.
It definitely needs a lot more work.
Yeah, and it's like they're not working on it.
You be setting for the set plays, but it just not enough for me.
Jesus saying men winning ball and couldn't take advantage as we couldn't make telling passes out. Yeah.
And when the telling passes come, we ain't controlling it right either.
Is it?
Or we trying to control when you're supposed to shoot.
True.
Rashford again, sure.
No, James too.
Daniel James too.
Well, James had no such a control either, so I don't know that thing.
Sean saying, I must say, Leeds has worked on the defensive side of the game. How to give them that, not as sloppy as the first half of the season. Remember, 10 men Leeds beat City.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's all that would have contributed to Ollie decision. David saying that chip pass Bruno tried for Rashford failed. And yeah, it works sometimes, it don't work other times. That is just how it is. And I think Leeds did a very, very good job in locking down our key players because all them runs, all them diagonals Rashford was making, Eiling was tracking him, and all those passes were getting cut off.
Yeah.
It was basically a man job.
Yeah. They were man marking one-on-ones, you know. I must say hats off to Greenwood. His game has improved a lot. Yeah, Greenwood improved. But Greenwood, my thing with Greenwood, I don't know when to shoot and when to pass. You know, because Greenwood taking some kind of shots today that I feel probably, you know. But I mean,
the one way
trying to trade and tell yourself you can make it, and for all you know, he just trying from some real sharp angles when you look at it.
No, Greenwood is a shooter, but Greenwood have that. Greenwood had that. That run he make when he was more or less one-on-one, you know, but he shoot for a bit of a distance out. Because the pressure, he know the pressure was coming from the defender. It had no way for him to pass to, you know, so it's either he had to cut back and try to beat the defender and try to aim for the last post or shoot now, you know, so and he ended up shooting, you know, but I think he have it in him to score. The angle for that opportunity was a bit off. Maybe the better option should have been to cut back and try to hit the last post, but still, again, much improved, and he made an excellent run.
Yeah.
One of the more natural finishers we have in the team anyway, so.
Yeah, and I mean, it's evident, It's evident. It's not just talk. Jody saying, but Greenwood is the only person that really shoots at goal in games. Yeah, but I guess I like calculation. To just shoot because, you know. But then again,
he had him thing.
I always remember it had some clip when Ollie was coaching, I think it's Mulder, and he was talking to the players.
Oh yeah, I remember which one you're talking about.
Shoot!
Yeah.
Shoot! I remember that.
So I guess Greenwood shooting, you know, and Rashford too, but it's just there's close on Rashford faster, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then to Rashford, he only have 1 foot now, so he's a little more predictable. Greenwood, they don't know which foot he could let go with, you know. We talk about somebody. I think as David had mentioned, Wan-Bissaka earlier. I find Wan-Bissaka was very, very impressive today. I mean, afraid to continue talking about him because then Thursday you'll come and have a disaster class because this is the kind of things man players just do now.
This show have a tendency for whatever we give somebody some praise is end up heavy them and just do some kind of madness the next game.
Yeah.
No, but we commented on today's game, and today's game he was good.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And you've
seen those players on merit. You know, if against Roma, you're a stinker. Well, you know, I just said.
And you've seen, if we have to go into more depth on it, you've seen him more being able to take those chances and trusting his ability to go forward too. Like I said, when he was playing Crystal Palace, it was more of a defensive-minded kind of game. Now he has the opportunity to expand on his attack in front. He has the opportunity to show that he has those crosses in his game. Those people, those checking back and cutting and low crosses as well too. Something that is a different dimension that he can bring. I think everything, as much as it may not be natural at first, when you do something after a period of time, it eventually comes second nature to people. You don't jump on a bike for the first time and then and tell yourself, all right, I get right without the training wheels. Everything happens in due process. Some take longer than others, James, but still, it's one of those things where you have to give the players the necessary opportunities to be able to make mistakes too, because at the end of the day, they are human beings. But you don't want it to be a situation where it becomes a constant problem. And you've seen Wan-Bissaka showing that ability to improve as he goes along. He's 21, 22. He still has much more years in this game to get even better. And I think it's a learning curve for him that he can develop on as he goes on.
Yeah. Jody saying, Reem, you're mad or Wan-Bissaka has been solid this whole season.
He's had 1 or 2 off games. But
I'm mad.
I haven't, and I said last time, if you had a look at this season, in its entirety, I don't think he had that much of a bad season. Who you might say had a I think a McTominay in entirety would have had a worse season than a Wan-Bissaka. As good as McTominay was very good at moments, but I think Wan-Bissaka overall was very good.
And I agree with that statement, but somebody having a good season or a very good season doesn't mean that they do have poor performances, you know?
Of course, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
So Jody, I don't know what you're talking about now. I had some stinkers this season, but overall, we have seen improvement, you know?
Let's face it, nobody gets more harsher criticism than Harry Maguire for any time he makes a bad pass or anytime he makes a mistake in the back. Trust me, I've seen people go to town on this man. Him, Fred, James, I think they're like the top three men that get the most slandered on social media. If you ever go through Twitter for like within like an hour time, everything is man, 80 million pound flop. Watch me, everything you could think of, call him under the sun, just call him. But whatever.
Yeah. Jesus saying one has shown some improvement today going forward on defense as well. Yeah, and I really hope we could continue to praise Van Bissaka. Yeah. Jody saying furthermore, he's beginning to start attacking and swinging in the crosses going forward.
That's what I've been saying.
He's still a real suspect. What I like what Van Bissaka does do earlier is when he reach in that attacking position, he just turn and give somebody else. Anytime I see Van Bissaka going cross that ball, pushing to cross, I know some crap gonna happen. And he always falling and end up off the pitch and all kind of thing. Jesus saying Leeds did well to tie down our pacey front line. Didn't see us stretching their defense. Ole couldn't adapt. Maybe we needed to move the ball faster, switch faster, and get Rashford and James running at the defense. I think we had established before that Leeds didn't come out and play the kind of expansive football we knew them to be playing. So they were very conservative today. So to catch them on that break, especially with them man marking Rashford and Bruno, it was difficult. That's why you hardly see any kind of diagonals, but from deep from Lindelof, you know?
Yeah, because
that was one.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it basically goes back to they're changing up their style of play. You know, they're a team that are accustomed being more expansive, being more forward thinking when they go forward. As a kind of you could say a kamikaze mentality. It's like, okay, you're going and go for the killer blow, but you had to take a couple of shots in between in the process. Whereas in a situation like that, Oli would have been able to contain that and say, hey, let me break on these fellas because the space is available for Rashford and James to be able to go through. They move differently this time. You saw that approach where it's like, all right, not so much. You're telling them, man, hey, watch for that run. It's like you're basically looking at he knows the man who to target. He knows the man who's the key figures for the game. Bielsa does his homework. Tactically, it wasn't a situation all he was out tactic. It was a matter where he just didn't, like you said, the key elements were missing for him to be able to break it down the way he would accustomed to it. So I think it was a fair game all around. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Nobody could question or complain about the result. You know, we were hoping it would have some goals because we were expecting, as well as Oli, that Leeds would have come out, you know, and we'd have seen that kind of open affair. But, you know, Jody said, who could have more poor performances than Fred? But as I said before, just like Wan Bissaka, for me, Fred, you know, had some good games. You know, but he had some bad games, you know. So I think for plenty players, this would have been a very good season in terms of minutes. And when you gain minutes, when you gain more time, you can see more good and more bad performances. You can see, you know, a bit of both. But Fred was good today. Fellas, so let me look to wrap it up now. I don't know if you have any moments in the game that I want to talk about again, but I think we could, if not, we could wrap.
I think going back to the whole call you guys were talking about with Shaw almost getting a penalty call against him. And for me, it's just going to show how much VAR is really in a hot mess, and the refereeing in England needs a whole reset. Because prior to this game, I remember watching the game between West Ham and Chelsea. Imagine men getting red card for actually kicking the ball. Something telling fundamentally something not wrong there in that situation for me, because in my mind is like, where's the contact to say Chilwell had to be going down like he got a gunshot in the back?
Yeah, that was crazy.
It not adding up. It's not adding up. So in my mind is like, and the referee's actually falling for some of these things. So in my mind is like, yo, all right, nah, VAR need to get thrown in the bin, start this whole thing over, and then get people who actually know how to do their job.
Yeah, because that was a follow through. It had no way. I think Chilwell foot was in the wrong place as more than Balbuena trying to stamp. And as a footballer, you will look at that and you will say, there's not a foul, you know? And what makes it worse is the man gets sent off for dangerous play.
You tell me where the sense is in that whole thing. Where are the people who watching that on video saying in their mind, okay, you know, that dangerous enough to get him sent off. He need to come. Come on, man. There have been many times you will win a ball. Anybody who's played football, momentum when you push in to go and get a ball, like in a general slide and tackle, sometimes you will collide with the player. But it's not necessarily where the initial contact is a dangerous play. So in no league anywhere else would you see that be given as a red card. It probably would be a 1 or a yellow card at worst. It not adding up.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't have been surprised if Shaw had got if they had given that call for Shaw, because the way VAR has become so unpredictable in this league now,
you don't know.
It's hard to just be like, you're biting in his wondering like, oh gosh, wait, what gonna happen now?
Yeah. And that was my exact reaction when I saw VAR reviewing that. Anyway, guys, so Jody saying my prediction for Thursday 2-0. Let me go on.
Nice.
I crossed my fingers earlier. I crossed my fingers really early. Jody, don't let me down.
They were also saying that Juju better work, eh? Have a blessed night, Jody. Thanks for joining, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Jody. Thanks for coming.
Easy, Jody, easy.
So, guys, let me get some closing thoughts. You know, you could feel free in your closing thoughts to include, you know, the whole protests and the Super League start and stop within a couple of days. You can feel free, you know. We won't be able to go into it as we did last week.
All right, but before I go any further with that whole thing, shout out to my friend Jamie Shields, who's a supporter in England as well too. He was actually there at the protest in Old Trafford yesterday, and you saw the camaraderie, you saw the unity, everybody coming together and really standing up for what they truly believed in, and showing that okay, they don't want the owners of this club completely tearing up the whole history and what the idea of football is supposed to be for us. I was saying in my mind is like this was a whole game of Monopoly with this whole Super League thing. Because you watch the teams that were involved. These are some of the teams that financially are some of the biggest powerhouses in football right now. And you want to decide, okay, you want to make something exclusively for yourselves where no matter what happens in the performances for your teams, you don't feel any kind of effects. That takes away from the naturalness and from the true idea of what football is supposed to be about. And you basically playing these men. It's really like Monopoly again. They might get out of jail free card when they do stuff like that. So I'm glad that the clubs decided to show up and say, all right, we're going to pull out. We're not going to do this again. And I hate to say it, but if it's a situation where there are fines handed down and there might be some more sterner punishments put in place, then we had to just roll with the punches as we can. But
I find the clubs should stand up against that though.
Well,
you know, I find
it cannot come like you're breaking with that plan, but and you still want to protest, not getting the belt. No,
yeah, because it's not even like the league starts, so it's not even like the pot break. It come like I think I'm gonna break the pot. I'm gonna break the pot, but then I say here, well, me breaking that pot now, but still like
you see that you the real much of your mother pot at your house.
No, but the thing about it, right, fellas? Remember, all the clubs came out with statements on social media stating that they have joined, right? Mm-hmm. And if what Florentino Perez is saying is true, he's saying that all the clubs signed binding contracts. So me and know if he lying or he talking the truth. But if what he's saying is true, then they were well and fully in it. For them to come on social media and declare that they are part of the Super League, then to come and say after that they're no longer a part, then you see for all the different clubs, the chairperson or the owners coming and apologizing. Then you're guilty, right? So for me, it's like I looking at you, all the other 14 clubs in the league, looking at Olia as traitors. That's where you are, because you're willing to walk away from the Premier League, from how we know football to be, to go and be in some Super League where you guaranteed money, as Gregory said, whether you perform to deserve it or not, right? And that league was going to take some form of the American system in how they have sport. Because if you look at the NBA, you look at MLS, you look at NFL, baseball, it have no relegation or promotion. So it have no fear for if you don't perform properly. And it's our next thing, and I think Ollie had mentioned it as well when they talk about the trading system that they want to implement in Europe. If you finish last, then you get the first pick.
Okay.
So what am Americans trying to come and double in the European game for?
Basically rewarding mediocrity when you think about it.
Exactly. So I am glad it didn't work, but I mean, Florentino Perez say they're coming again, they're going to go back to the drawing board and come back again. So we will see in the next couple probably months or years whether these apologies coming from these club owners were genuine or not. You know?
I have a partner of mine who's a Real Madrid fan, and he does watch Perez like he drunk. Because I mean, even in the picture where they posted where he was talking, you know, he had a champagne glass in his hand. I watched him a moment and said, "Nah, you had one too many sips of whatever alcohol you was drinking, and it's too strong for you, though." But I mean, I waited to see what's going to take place with the so-called revamping of the Super League, and there's even talk of the Champions League having a different format as well too. I personally believe that they're not taking the players' fitness into consideration with situations like this either. But I think that's a discussion for another time. But in retrospect, whatever comes from here is going to be under a lot of scrutiny because you're going to watch what took place and then the people who are involved. You already seen heads rolling. Woodward already gone. Thank God. It's a matter now of seeing what the owners from here do from here to so-called get back in people good graces. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. For now, I think the most we can do now is just focus on the season, wrap it up, try and bring what success we can to this, and start the next season on a good foot. But that whole thing is a kind of a closed door for now. I kind of dreading to see what comes next.
Yeah. PC saying against the current top 4, right? Played 8, unbeaten in 5. Are we a Super League team? And I think a lot of the Super League teams, you know, over the weekend didn't really perform, you know, to justify the target, you know. So, but I mean, you can't judge anything of one game. But it was fitting that a lot of them didn't perform, you know, after a week like this. So Nico, closing thoughts.
Yeah, for me, just a good performance against Roma, you know, on Tuesday. As Jody said, we got 2-0 victory. I real good, you know. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, Greg, closing.
You're
close already.
Yeah, I did my part already. It's your turn for closing thoughts. Come on.
All right. So my thoughts are, I mean, because of how Ollie approached the game today, if we lose against Liverpool next week and City win, they'll be crowned. All right. So I hope that we could extend the wait a little bit more, right? And Ollie has based on his actions today, has indicated that he's focused on the Europa League. So I really hope silverware. So I really hope that act is evidenced by a performance that we will come here and be praising on Tuesday. I don't want Ollie can be making these kind of sacrifices. And I mean, right? You understand what I mean when I say sacrifice. To go and play rubbish and set ourselves up for a very, very difficult return leg. You know, so let me hope that at the end of the day, every decision that Ollie makes for the trophy is a worthy decision because we've seen the benefits and the rewards, you know, in terms of performance.
At least a final. At least in the final, anything that happened in a final, right? So at least the final.
Yeah. So guys, thanks again for joining. Greg, thanks for joining. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for the likes, everybody. And for those who, you know, touching in from the YouTube side, thanks for using it. You know, King Hunter, thanks for joining, buddy.
Yeah, man,
let's hope that we could get our title on the Europa League side. So we'll be here again on Thursday to review the Europa League clash against AS Roma. It promises to be a very, very good one. And hopefully, when we're talking about how we hit Roma for our next 8 like we did before, we could be laughing at Chelsea. You know, we could be laughing at City. You know. Anyway, So we'll see you all then. So thanks again for joining, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night.